Welcome to New York News in downtown New York City. Today we'll be talking about big changes that happened in the last decade. Have any of you guys ever seen the best movie of all time called The Jazz? I'm pretty sure you all have. If you haven't, you don't know what a movie is. It's the first movie that came out with sound. Another popular movie that came out was called The Kid. It came out in 1921, so you guys probably don't remember it, so we won't talk much about that. Do you guys remember the best silent actor of all time, Charlie Chaplin? He has been in at least 26 movies in his life. He's known for having a little black mustache. He always looked like he had the A couple fun facts about him is that he composed most of the music that was in his films. He collaborated with a female filmmaker, which is pretty rare these days. Gloria Swanson was one of the top famous actresses in the last decade. She was in at least 5 films. Not really many, but Joanne Crawford was also a really popular actress. She was in at least 26 films at least. Many men thought that these girls were Shebas. I'm sure you guys have heard all the big news and craze about Al Capone, but right now we are going into some history. Al Capone has now been sent to the top prison of the nation, Alcatraz, which is in San Diego, California. Let's start off with some history on this man. He's the top gangster of the 1920s. He's pretty lousy, though. He's been part of many murders, but never got pinched for anything because he's always covered everything up. Everyone knows he was part of the murders, though, because when he got out of prison one time, or jail, whatever you want to call it, there was a report that came out called Enemies #1 of all time. He would pay cops and officials and threaten witnesses if anyone saw anything. Getting raked in about $100 million each year. He got to be head of the gang because his boss got shot and survived, but he left and gave his business to Capone. He made his money by bootlegging, gambling, prostitution, and racketeering. He got charged for tax evasion and went to trial. The judge changed the jurors because he found out that they were getting paid to say that he was innocent. He got sentenced for 11 years to prison and $50,000 fine. He was then sent to Alcatraz for prison, and after he got out, he stayed low and lived in his mansion in Palm Island, Florida. And recently, sadly, he has died from a stroke.
Today on New York News, I'm going to be talking about sports in the 1920s. First, we have baseball, and of course the famous Babe Ruth. He has a batting average of 342 and has hit 714 home runs. This is where the name Golden Age of baseball came into place. The legacy for the New York Yankees was formed at this time. The next sport we have is boxing with the famous Jack Dempsey. He was known as the superhero of boxing. Everyone said he was the greatest and most beloved sport hero that the country has ever known. He is one of the most heavyweight boxing champions. He was a Copenhagen boxer in the 1920s. These sports have brought modernism into the world and shows how sports got to be so popular during these times. While players were hooked on the game, women in the 1920s were hooked on their styles. Flappers were a generation of young Western women in the 1920s. Flappers originated in Great Britain, and the name stuck with them, and throughout the United States and Europe, Flappers was the name given to the liberated young women. These women were known for their energetic freedom, and they have pushed many barriers of political and economical freedom for women.
Starting in the 1920s, women started to become more immoral and their roles started to change. They became more free in many different ways. They gained the right to vote on August 18th, 1920. Women no longer put up with their husbands who treated them poorly. The number of divorces doubled because it became easier. Many men were cake eaters and women did not mind that at all. Ladies started to smoke and drink in public more often, which was originally uncommon. Now you can see Chevas all over town getting drunk off their beep. Today, men and women are still not thought of as equal. No one ever thought about women in this way until about 10 years ago. Everyone thought equality for men and women was baloney. Ladies were mostly housewives until the 1920s when they started to do more work. When men left for war, the number of working women increased by 25%. They were still not as free as men, and most had to stay home to take care of their houses and children. Women changed their appearance and their actions and are now called flappers. The whole image of women changed around this time, and they were no longer thought of as polite and innocent. They're also becoming more equal to men in the 1920s, while the women were becoming flappers and changing their roles. The children were watching their new favorite cartoons. One of the main characters is the mouse you know and love, Mickey Mouse. His original name was Mortimer Mouse, but Disney's wife convinced him to change it. Mickey was not popular until his third animation, Steamboat Willie, that had synchronized music and sound effects. The next film was Plane Crazy, where Mickey symbolized Charles Lindbergh. In the 1920s, children's cartoons were on the rise. Many different popular characters were created. Less people are traveling to the movies because they can just stay. Another famous character is Felix the Cat. He was created in the silent film era, and he was redesigned in 1924 to look cuter and became more popular. Popeye was created by Elias Chrysler Cigar in 1929. Popeye is a very muscular man who was said to have got his strength from eating spinach. These are just a few of many well-liked characters from the 1920s. This is when radio and film started to gain fame. These new characters and interesting cartoons intrigued everyone. Children's hobbies changed and they started watching more TV.
What a movie is because it is the little movie. It's about love with performer Mary.
I hadn't thought about this way until 10 years ago. Today, limiters. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Bye. Peace.